Welcome back to Module 3, and Module 3 is talking everything about music publishing. Hopefully you've already got a lot of knowledge about the business of publishing and where you as a songwriter fit into the publishing landscape. This particular lesson is about synchronization, and this is probably an area of your creativity that you've heard a little bit about. You've heard of other songwriters making some good money from what they describe as a sync. It's a very specific type of income form for songwriters, and we're going to examine it a little bit more now in detail. Now, in order to understand what sync is and how sync works, we need to go back again, one step back, in order to take a couple of steps forward and explain what synchronization truly is. It's about licensing. It's about the giving of permission. Now, when we talked about copyright, I've said to you many times now that the owner of copyright is entitled to a payment, or at least the opportunity to require a payment for the use of their song. We talked about mechanical royalties. And we said, all right, well, those mechanical royalties are based on the reproduction of the song, and that is calculated according to law. There's a formula, and every song gets the same rate of payment when it's reproduced. There are not more valuable songs or less valuable songs. It's done on a commission or on a royalty basis. That's the reproduction right. The sync right is calculated differently. If your song finds its way into a film or a TV show, an ad or a video game, you're actually entitled to negotiate what that fee is, or choose not to take a fee if that's what you want. It's not set by statute the way that the mechanical rate is set. So it's not a fixed rate, it's a negotiable rate. And when anything is negotiable, obviously it comes down to your bargaining position. Now, this comes into play in a lot of different ways. Let's examine a few of those. You are giving permission. You have the opportunity to say no. You've always got the opportunity to say that, no, I'm not going to give you permission to put my song in an ad or in a video game. I just don't want to. And there's nothing that that music user can do about that. If you say, no, I do not give permission, they can't use your work. It becomes a copyright infringement. And so it gives you the opportunity to negotiate. You're able to say, look, I'm prepared to give permission, but I'm only going to give permission on a few conditions. And one of those might be that you pay me some money. So that's the nature of synchronization, is it's a negotiated fee for the use of a song in particular circumstances. And there is a lot of moving parts when it comes to negotiating those fees. So how do you calculate what the sync fee should be? Is it something that you are born knowing? Of course not. Synchronization fees are very valuable to songwriters. And the reason for that is that the song's already written. They've written a song and somebody has identified that that song is the perfect song, or at least close to perfect song, for that particular opportunity. They've heard the song, they've heard the music, and they've said, right, this is great for that fight scene in our movie, or this is fabulous for our video game, or this song is going to help us sell more products and services through our advertising to the consumers of the world. They're actually wanting your song. Now, when somebody wants your song, you are in a relatively strong bargaining position. It depends how badly they want that song. If your song could be useful for their purpose, but at the end of the day, there might be 4 or 5 others or 100 others that are equally relevant for the purpose that they need, your bargaining position isn't strong. They could take it or leave it. They can make you an offer, and if you don't choose to accept that offer, that's fine. They'll find somebody else. They're not desperate necessarily for your song. In other situations, they might be absolutely desperate for your song. It's the perfect song to sell those sneakers or to make that scene of that TV show come to life. So your bargaining position changes depending on the use of the song and how badly they want it. Now, you want to do these deals, and the reason you want to do these deals is because it's, in a way, free income. Yes, you're giving permission, and your permission has a value, and that's why they're prepared to pay for the use of your song. Oh, that, and also the fact that they'd infringe your copyright if they didn't negotiate a payment for your song. But the beauty of this income is that you don't really have to do much for it other than give permission. You don't have to sell a record. You don't have to market your music so that people want to stream your song on a streaming platform. You don't have to find a way of them coming to your show and paying for a ticket or being so excited by you that they're going to buy one of your t-shirts or something like that. It is simply money for permission, and permission is not a very time-consuming activity. You don't have to invest a lot for you to be able to give permission, unlike other forms of income. So it's great income if you can get it. There's also a second layer to this income possibility, and that is that having your song in a good TV series, having your song in a great Netflix series or a movie or a video game that, you know, is so popular right around the whole world or something like that, it actually brings your song to the attention of lots and lots of people. And I'm sure we've all had that experience. We've all been watching a TV show and said, wow, that song's amazing, what is it? And you've Shazammed it or waited till the end of the series to see what the name of the song and who the artist is, or you've Googled it to try and find out. And then you might say, wow, I really like this artist, I wonder what else they have. So yeah, it's great to have your songs on film or television or video games or even ads. It's a great form of exposure. And that might help you generate more income from streaming or even live shows, or be a huge boost to your career generally. That's great. But at the same time, you're not certain that that will happen. And if the user of that music wants to use your music, you're entitled to get paid. You shouldn't just give it away on the basis that, it might generate some other activity for me. They're getting direct value out of your song. Now, this is a big part of a songwriter's career. If they become known as a songwriter whose songs are sync-friendly, that every time a music supervisor, which we'll explain later, every time a music supervisor is looking for a song for a movie or a TV show, they turn to your catalogue because you write songs that seem to be a really good fit for that sort of activity, you'll get bigger opportunities. You'll have more people coming to you looking to sync your songs. And there's another benefit as well, which I perhaps haven't put on the slide, and that is if your song is on a film or on an ad, and that ad is on TV or radio, you generate public performance income as well, collected through a PRO. So there is lots of flow-on benefits above and beyond that very first, okay, they're going to pay me for the use of my song, that's fantastic, but there are also other benefits. And that has to come into play when you are deciding whether you want to give permission or not. Now, it's a complicated business. Some songwriters are very capable of fielding sync inquiries for their own songs. You know, they have relationships with music supervisors, they have relationships with ad agencies or whoever is the business wanting to use your song. There is a lot of songwriters who have those personal relationships. It's also a job for a publisher, and we've talked about obviously what a publisher does. One of the roles of the publisher is to get sync opportunities. But if you're not published, and if you don't have these opportunities yourself, there's another service provider that might be available to you, and that's what's called a sync agent. A sync agent is a business that specialises in sourcing sync opportunities and pitching songs to fulfil those opportunities or briefs. So sometimes ad agencies or television producers or film producers will go to publishers and say, what have you got that might fit this brief? But they'll also go to a number of reputable sync agents. So you haven't signed a full publishing agreement with that sync agent, but what you've done is you've said to that sync agent, I allow you to represent my songs for sync opportunities. And for a lot of you, you'd be very familiar with that because that's one of the great services that Vampr provides. And we've had a lot of success in finding sync opportunities for Vampr writers. So you could go independent, you could use a sync agent, you could get sync services as a part of a publishing agreement, and the choice really is up to you, assuming that a sync agent or a publisher wants to represent your catalogue. There are lots of sync agents. Some of them are really, really good, and some of them less effective. We obviously work with really good ones here at Vampr when we're pitching your songs for sync opportunities. A lot of them are in LA and New York, of course, because that's where a lot of content production is made. But of course, there are sync agents, dotted around the globe. Many in London, many in Europe, many in South America, and many in Australia as well. Well, I won't say many in Australia, but there's a good number of sync agents around. So make sure you actually do your due diligence and look into the success rate of the sync agent that wants to represent your songs. All right, now you're probably all thinking, why didn't somebody tell me about this sync thing before? It's fantastic. I need to get on this sync bus. It's going places. Yep, it is. And you need to be actively involved in seeking out sync opportunities. But let's be realistic about it as well. There are a lot of songs out there. There's a lot of really good songs out there. There are songs of all sorts of genres that are sync friendly. The users of music are spoilt for choice. So they tend to drive a fairly hard bargain sometimes. They tend to say, look, we'd like to use your song, but there's lots of others that we could use as well. And they're probably correct. They're not lying to you when they say that. So it's really hard to, A, get one of those life-changing sync opportunities, and B, it's hard to negotiate what the fee should be. Of course, anyone that's using music in their other product, their film or their ad or their video game, they would like to pay as little for music as they can. I mean, they'd be silly not to. Not very good business to pay more than you need to for anything, really. So what you need to do is you need to, A, be aware that sync opportunities are hard to come by, and if you think that your songs are sync friendly, you need to look for a publisher, or you need to look for a sync agent, or you need to work really damn hard to build those relationships yourself. The hardest thing, though, if you're looking for sync opportunities yourself, is knowing what the value of your song is. That's really hard for two reasons. One, because you're very close to that song. You think that your song is the product of your life experience, your blood, sweat and tears. Of course you think your song has value, and it does. But how much value? Just for a moment, pause and just think of your favourite song in your own catalogue and ask yourself, if an independent film came to you and said, I want to use 30 seconds of your song in a wedding scene, in a film that's only going to be distributed in Europe, and the subject of the film is something that you think may not be very mainstream, it might be relatively unpopular. How much are you going to charge for the use of your song? You have no idea. And that's not disparaging, that's not saying anything against you. How would you know? Do you discount it because it's a non-mainstream subject matter? Are wedding scenes overdone and cheesy, or are wedding scenes fantastic? What's the value of that film being distributed in Europe as opposed to the rest of the world? They want to use 30 seconds, but your song goes for 3.5 minutes. Why don't they want to use the whole song? There is so many moving parts there. How would you be expected to know what that song is worth? Well, that's why it's important to have somebody on your side who actually does this for a living, who actually knows European distribution, cinema, 1 year, 5 years, home video, DVD rights, whether your song's being used in the opening titles or the closing titles, or whether it's just background music in a driving scene. All of those moving parts, and you really do need expert guidance in what that song is worth in those circumstances. So sync opportunities are great, and always consider any sync opportunity that is being presented to you. Even if it's a student film, ask yourself the question, is it worth $500 for my song to be in this film? Is there some flow-on benefits that might be useful? Do I actually like the film? Do I like the filmmaker? And up to the other end of the scale, is this a global advertisement for a product that you maybe don't even agree with? Is there a point where you're prepared to say, look, the money's that great, I can't really say no, even though I'm not a big fan of that fast food or whatever it might be. There's a lot of moving parts, but it is a great opportunity, and hopefully now you understand quite a lot more about it. So it's a growing area. There is more and more sync opportunities emerging every day. There are sync opportunities on all the different content platforms. We've already touched on, for example, your music in Twitch streams or other forms of live streaming. Video games, we're now entering the metaverse, and who knows how the use of music in the metaverse is going to play out. The moment you're synchronized with visual content, though, your music is entitled to be paid for. So it's a really growing area, and one that you certainly need to turn your attention to as an artist and as a songwriter. All right, hopefully that's opened your eyes to the realities of the sync business, and we'll move on to the next lesson. Thanks a lot.